All right, and welcome to the equation of a circle. Now, number one says find the equation of the circle graph below. So whenever you want to identify the equation of a circle, there's two things that we need to know. We need to know, hey, where is my center? Okay, and in this case, what I can see is my center is right here, and it's at -2, -2. Okay, and then the other thing I noticed is that I want to find my radius. Okay, in my radius, I can always just draw a line straight to the right, and let's count. 1, 2, 3. So here my radius is equal to 3. Now the very last thing you have to know before you do this is you have to know what is the formula for the equation of a circle. And you can always find this on your formula chart if you're in my geometry class, and it's this: x minus h close parentheses squared plus y minus k close parentheses is equal to the radius squared. A lot of students always forget that the radius has to be squared. Now from here, what you understand is that the center, that -2, that is actually my x value. So when I write x right here, I'm saying, hey, x is -2. Well, in order to write the rest of this parentheses, I always want to balance it out to 0, okay? This is an algebra 2 concept, so you could explore that reason in a different video, but understand these factors must equal 0. So if x is -2, I just write the opposite. Plus 2 squared. Okay, plus parentheses. Here I have my y value. My y value is also -2. And once again, we want to balance this out by putting the opposite. Well, the opposite of -2 is once again +2 squared is equal to. Now notice my radius is 3, but what I want to write is my radius squared. And so just ask yourself, hey, what is 3 squared? And of course, 3 squared is 9. And there you go. There's the equation that would graph that circle to the left. All right, let's move on to a second example. Okay, here we see example 2, and it says graph the circle with the equation x minus 1 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 9. Well, now we're going to work backwards. Now I'm going to give you the equation and ask you to graph it. So what you want to do is take a look inside that parentheses where we see x minus 1. And in order to find the x value of the center, I always want to set that factor equal to 0. So ask yourself, how do you get rid of a minus 1? Well, we'll do plus 1, and we'll do plus 1. And x is equal to 1. Perfect. How about y? Well, I take that y plus 2, I set it equal to 0, and I subtract 2 from both sides, and y is equal to -2. Very nice. And so now this allows me to find my center. My center will be at 1, -2. So I'll go to the right 1 and down 2, and notice that my center is going to be right about there. Now next, I know that this is equal to 9, but that's not telling me that I have a radius of 9. It's saying, hey, I want to take the square root of 9. All right, and the square root of 9 is 3. So I can go to the right 1, 2, 3, and there will be a point right there. What I like to do is I like to count up 1, 2, 3. There's my next point. I'll count to the left 1, 2, 3. It's my next point, and down 1, 2, 3, and there's my next point. And by putting those 4 points, it allows me to just kind of put a semi-accurate circle. All right, let's move on to our third and final problem. I'd encourage you to pause the video and finish taking your notes. This third problem is a little bit tricky. Okay, so for problem 3, it says find the equation of the circle with a center at 4, -3 and the point 8, 0 lying on the circle. So graphically, what is it that we're looking? Well, 4, -3 is going to be to the right 4 and down 3, so it's somewhere right there, okay? And then 8, 0, well, that's way over there. And so you imagine this like circle, we're saying, hey, the point 8, 0 is on the outside edge, and there's my center, okay? So the good news is, just by knowing the center, you actually know the left-hand side of the equation. So remember, I can say, hey, my x value is 4, and I want to write the number that would make 4 equal to 0. So I have x minus 4 squared plus. I know that y is -3, and the opposite of -3 is +3 squared equals. And the only thing that's tricky, the only thing that we don't know is we don't know what is our radius. Okay, well notice that your radius is the distance in between the center and the point on the edge. And so what I want to do is I just want to go back to my semester 1 geometry, and I want to use my distance formula. Remember, your distance formula is x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1, and then that whole thing is squared. Okay, now from here, the only other thing you want to do is you want to label them. And remember, in this one, it actually doesn't matter which one you want to label. So why not just go ahead and call this one x1, y1. I don't know why this is writing so difficult. And x2, y2. Okay, and we'll just plug in everything and we'll work it down. I know that, let's see here, x2 is 8 minus 4 squared plus, I know my y2 is 0 minus -3 squared. Anytime I see two negatives, I immediately want to change those to positives. Now I have the square root of 8 minus 4 is 4 squared plus 0 plus 3 is 3 squared. And then let's just come on up to here. And now I know that 4 squared is 16 plus 3 squared is 9. And ask yourself, hey, what is the square root? Well, 16 plus 9 is 25. And I know that the square root of 25 is 5. Now, I want to make a quick note here because this is always a little bit tricky for students. I just found that my radius was 5, but remember, in your formula, it's always equal to your radius squared. And so if I square 5, I say, hey, what is 5 squared? I actually get back to this number inside the square root. And so if you can memorize this, it would be cool if I could switch over to my highlighter. Still figuring this out, this new laptop. But whatever number you have inside your square root, before you take the square root, that is what your equation will always equal. And so this is what we have. We have a center. We have a center at 4, -3. And we know that we have a radius of 5. And that's the equation of your circle. I hope this was helpful, and I'll catch you in our next video.